Hi, I'm Hazel Mills, and this is how you can make your own self-evolving sounds using the UDO Super 8. I've created here two separate performances, by which I mean two layers of patches, which when you play the sound, they both happen simultaneously. And what I'm going to do in this video is break down how I've created them, essentially, and show you some of the components that you can use yourself to create your own. Now, the reason they are ever-evolving sounds is by the use of modulation, and the fact that because the modulation is at kind of different rates happening over a long period of time, they're never going to kind of catch up with one another. There's always going to be an element of rhythmic displacement, as it were, or time displacement, which means nothing is going to repeat. And if it does, it's going to take a very long time to get there, by which time you probably got bored and changed the note. Anyway, it's fun. I would encourage it. Let's get stuck in. Now, I wanted to start just by summarising kind of the main components of these patches so that you've got something to take away with you straight away that you can kind of get stuck into. And that is, I'm going to summarise the three main modulation sources and the three main modulation destinations. So the three main sources of modulation are LFO1, LFO2 and envelope 1. The three main modulation destinations are the filter cutoff, and that's for the low pass filter, the mix between the two oscillators, DDS1 and DDS2, and thirdly, the morphing between waves, which happens with DDS1. So we'll start with performance 1. Okay, just a little snippet there. So I'm going to put it into single mode, and we're going to start by listening to just the lower layer. So what we've got here is DDS1 is set to triangle, DDS2 is set to a sawtooth, and they are both set to the same octave as one another. And we have two modulation sources modulating the filter cutoff. One of them is envelope 1, which is set to loop. So it's kind of acting a bit like an LFO in that sense. And the attack is quite slow and the decay is quite slow as well. On top of that, we also have LFO1 modulating the filter with quite a different quality in that it's set to a square wave and quite a fast rate. So it's got quite, you could hear those rhythmic qualities coming in. That's what that is. And the reason we're not hearing that straight away or even just consistently throughout is that I also have LFO2 modulating the amount that LFO1 is modulating the filter. So basically what LFO2 is set to do is just turn this fader up and down quite slowly. Now let's have a listen to the upper layer. You can hear that it didn't come in straight away, and that there is kind of the key to having an evolving sound, in that you don't give all the sonic qualities of your patch away right at the beginning of the sound. The attack was set on both envelopes actually very slow. Not only that, we also have envelope 1, the hold is turned up. So what we have is DDS1 is set to alternative wave, and it's morphing very slowly between two alternative waves via LFO1. So it would be set here to LFO1. So the morphing between the two waves is just slowly moving up and down, and that's with a sine wave shape on LFO1. So you could kind of hear that the sonic qualities were slowly evolving. Later we were getting some of those more kind of almost FM-like waveforms coming in. DDS2 is set to sawtooth, and it's set to be an octave lower. And instead of having just one consistent blend between the two sounds, we've got LFO2 slowly modulating the mix. So essentially just slowly going between the two sounds like that. So we've got DDS1 slowly evolving its sound, and on top of that, we're going slowly between DDS1 and DDS2, so that there's this constant kind of evolution. One thing that I've added on top of this, and obviously this is one part that doesn't exist innately within the sound itself, but it's a way of manipulating the sound for further kind of evolving it, in that I've got the aftertouch set to control the rate of LFO1. What LFO1 is doing is controlling the wave morphing, so we'll only hear that when DDS1 has been given the spotlight. So at the moment we're hearing more of DDS2. Here's DDS1. So very subtle, but it means you can subtly manipulate the sound so that essentially it's never going to sound the same twice. And on top of that, because you've got poly aftertouch, you're actually applying this to individual notes rather than the whole sound. Now, let's hear the whole thing again. Part 2 of this video is performance 2, and this is quite different actually. Let's have a listen. And if you're listening on headphones, you will notice that there are some kind of stereo binaural qualities in this one that are quite noticeable as well. So let's break these down. We're in single mode, and I'm going to have a look at the lower layer. Nice pulsing going on here. That is not coming from the arpeggiator or the sequencer. It's LFO1 modulating the filter cutoff with a square wave. So both DDS1 and DDS2 are set to sawtooth, and as I said before, we've got LFO1 set to square wave, modulating the filter cutoff, the amount of which is modulated by LFO2 set to a sine wave. So we've essentially got LFO1 set to square wave, dum 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 dum, being turned slowly up and down with LFO2. But we are hearing a bit more in terms of rhythmic qualities. It's more than just a pulsing. And that is because we've got the delay send up. We've got sync on, so the delay and the LFO are synced to the tempo of the unit. So some of these sort of ghost notes and counter rhythms, that's what's coming from the delay. I've got the mix turned down to DDS1 only, and DDS2 is set to an octave higher, coming in occasionally. So you can hear that there are different octaves coming in and out, and the mix is actually modulated by envelope 1, which is set to loop. Let's listen to the upper. Nice. So you can hear that we've got the arpeggiator running. We've got DDS1 set to triangle wave, DDS2 set to sawtooth. We are by default only hearing DDS1. This is all the way to the left, and what is modulating it so that we can occasionally hear DDS2 is LFO2. On top of that, we've got two sources modulating the filter cutoff. Firstly, LFO1 and envelope 1. LFO1 is set to quite a slow sine wave, and envelope 1 is set to loop at a similar kind of shape, something like this, but at a different rate. So you've got the filter being kind of brought in and out at a slightly erratic kind of rate, essentially. Okay, let's hear them together again. It's like being out at sea. Going to do a simple major chord to see what happens. So I hope this has inspired you to get stuck in and have a go yourself. I'm always interested to hear what other people do with similar principles. I would encourage you to give it a go. And in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.